Okay, so Mr. Seipp, Memorial Day is coming up. Would you like to send a message to our military?
But the only thing I could say, I got a lot out of the military, not only from just the discipline, but I learned one saying that I heard in there. They had a saying that said, on an issue that's being discussed between two individuals or a group, there's an old saying, there's the right way to do something, the wrong way, and the Army way. And I remember that. And it's very true. I liked the Army, and I volunteered for 3 years, but ended up doing 4 because Harry Truman extended us a year because of the Korean War had started after I landed in Germany for 1 year. And so I consider it lucky, but we were in training all the time because of the Cold War. I remember a West Point officer give us an indication on the sand table one day of tanks and trucks. He said, now, if the Russians invade, the 2nd Armored Cavalry will be a holding company. Well, here I am at 18 years old, and I got thinking, I thought, that means we're going to be captured, blown up, or dead. If that happens. I said, fortunately, it didn't. That's why I think I was very lucky to miss combat, but we trained. And I was in the best shape I've ever been in my life. I was 6'2" at that time and weighed 210 pounds.
Wow.
And I wasn't as big as my dad, which I covered before. But then they sent me back to the States. My extended year, I was stationed in what they called the Old Guard, which was next to Arlington Cemetery and the grave of the unknown soldier. It was North Point, North Post, Fort Myers, and it was near the obituaries where all they were buried. It was a good service, my extended year, and so. But they had a new outfit they organized called the Armed Services Police Detachment, which was headquartered in the Navy Yard, or also known as a Naval Gun Factory. So my colonel I went up to see didn't want to give me a transfer, but I learned to talk, and I said, well, Colonel, I got graduation certificates here from Military Police School and Criminal Investigator School. And I said, not that I don't like you or the outfit, I said, but I don't know why the government spent money to send me to these schools. So here I got a chance to get in. I would like you to approve a transfer, and I had a letter of acceptance from the commander, the naval commander of the Armed Services Police Staff, also known as the AP, ASPD, Armed Services Police Detachment, it stood for. And that was good service. At the age of 19, I had a solid brass key to the call box telephones all over the city of D.C., and we worked very closely with the Metropolitan Police Department.
Wow.
So that was a good experience. I had a good experience there, and so that's about all I can say about the military. And in my point of view today, some of these high school people that don't know what they want to do, they would be better off even being drafted or volunteer for at least 2 years, because they could learn a lot of good points before they start looking for the jobs.
Did you bring anything with you that you want to show us Did you bring anything with you that you want to show us today? Any of your articles or awards?
Other experiences?
Yes, I think you have some there, some awards and articles.
And I had a really good experience in Germany. I took a furlough to go from Augsburg, Germany, by train to Liverpool, England, to see the Grand National Steeplechase.
Oh.
They made a movie called National Velvet.
Yes.
And Elizabeth Taylor and Mickey Rooney were in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I love horses, and I've always liked them. And it was a long trip, but the race course was in a little town outside of Liverpool called Aintree. And they run it the first Saturday of April. And this was in 1951, for your information. But it was a good trip. I spent time in London and meeting English people. And in fact, one thing that really, get choked up now, I met a London civilian crossing the English Channel from the shortest city there in France to Dover. And while I was going, it was a couple hours trip, I thought, well, I have something to drink while I'm waiting. So I ordered a drink, and I saw this distinguished looking guy standing at the bar, and I knew he was British, and he was a businessman because I could tell the way he was dressed. So when I was going to get one drink, and then I went to pay the bartender, and he went like this with his hand. And he said, pointed, this guy picked up my tab. He didn't even ask me.
Wow.
He just picked it up. I thought, man, I got to go up and meet him. And so we talked, and he knew about Maryland. He knew about the Maryland Hunt Cup. He knew a little bit about horses.
Oh, wow.
And so more I talked to him, and we had a good conversation. I was going to order another drink, but he already ordered me another one. he actually bought me three drinks. But I told the bartender how to mix them. I never drank a heavy drink. I had a lot of water and ice in it, and a little bit of liquor. But he was just so nice. And during our conversations, he changed his voice. And he said, Mr. Seipp, he talked in this tone of voice. He said, I want to talk to you about something. I thought, uh-oh, here it comes. Some our soldiers that spent a lot of time in London before they hit D-Day in the invasion of France. He said, you know what he told me? He said, I want to thank you and your country for the help you gave us during the pre-invasion. Because they were loaded with soldiers over there, and anyhow, waiting for the invasion of June the 6th, I think it was. My memory's staying put. But anyhow, I thanked him. I said, well, I appreciate your thoughts. But what I didn't do, I should have had I had a notebook. I should have gotten his name and address and telephone number and stayed in touch. But when you're young, sometimes you don't think about doing that. And I was around 18 or 19 at the time. And, so then I planned my furlough to spend 3 days in Paris on my way back to Germany. And I have to tell you, not one French person came up and shook my hand. I was in uniform. I was eating dinner at the Prince of Wales Hotel, which is the deluxe of Paris. And that was crowded with all the who was who in Paris. and they stared at me all the evening, and I ate a very good steak. I heard they made good, they had good food because of the high-class hotel. And but I had extra money, and I'd saved up. And I thought this is one time in a life. But I was very upset about the French people because we helped them too. Although they probably were a little ticked because some of their cities were partially destroyed by bombers. I can understand that, but yet they were occupied by the Wehrmacht, which in Germany means the German regular army, not the Nazis, they weren't the Nazis, they were the real German people. And I learned the difference. Believe me, I met some nice people. That's about all I could really tell you. And I had good appointments during my service, and I learned a lot. And I was going to re-enlist. I loved it so well. I even loved their food. Anyhow, then I learned that they were reactivating the draft to build up the army for the losses during World War II. So I thought, well, I'm going to enlist because they will send you where you request, and which they did. And it was the smartest thing I ever did. And I might repeat what I said about Jimmy Swartz. but I talked to Jimmy. He was our chaplain here. And I said, Jimmy, the Korean War started a year after I landed in Germany, and I was into training then. And I mean, for combat, I never actually saw actual combat, but I trained for it. I knew how to control people with a chrome-plated bayonet on a M1 rifle. But anyhow, Jimmy said, I said, was the Lord looking out for me? And Jimmy said, no, I might be repeating this.
It's okay.
But he said no, and then he explained really the whole situation. He said, Earl, it wasn't luck, and I'm not going to tell you it wasn't God, but it was one of my lucky things. And I lost a good buddy while I was over there because I went out for the football team, and I was a Browning automatic weapon man then. I had an ammo bearer, a wonderful guy named David Schaefer from Factoryville, Pennsylvania. And we had initials near the same, and I attended with him in basic training in Virginia, and he was a nice guy. But while I was on training for football, they were on a road march, and a driver went around a curve too fast and skidded on gravel. The truck overturned, landed on his head, where I would have been sitting if I'd have been on that march. I get shook up. I'm sorry, but when you lose a good friend, no matter how it happens, a guy you respect and honor, it shakes you up. Okay.
Well, thank you.
You got any other questions?
No, I really appreciate you sharing your story with us and telling us about your time in the military and what you want to say to people in the military now. It's been really very interesting, very enlightening.
But
so,
would I call a little bit more? Got more time on college?
But I appreciate it, and I'm sure everyone else in the community will appreciate hearing everything that you've accomplished too. So thank you very much, Mr. Seipp.
Okay.